Hey everyone, Owen Dino Studios here, and today I'll just be showing you how to service the new 2026 engines, because I hear that many people are having issues and there are videos out there that are not what you're supposed to be doing with these engines. So I just figured I would clear up the water a bit and post the definitive way to clear up the engines. We'll be starting with the short ones. They're the same drive system. It's just the way you take them apart is different. So I'm going to be showing both Thomas and Gordon. So yeah, let's get started. All right. So some things you're going to need for this are a Phillips head screwdriver. So you can see it's the one with like the plus sign kind of. Then you're also going to need a slot head screwdriver. So it's like a minus kind of screwdriver, and then also a triangle screwdriver. Um, it's a triangle. So first thing you're going to want to do is take the shell off, and here's the shell. These are the triangle head screwdrivers that I use. It's a 6-piece kit that can pretty much be used on any triangle screw, as you can see there. And then here are the lubricants I'm going to be using. So we have a brand of Walthers. This is a very low viscosity lubricant. 15cc, it's some oil, and then we have, you could either choose between gear lubricant, semi-fluid, or gear grease. Now the difference between these is this will make the engine run at a more consistent pace. This will just loosen up the gears really easily. Either one works just fine. I don't really have a preference, so without further ado, so yeah, first thing you're going to want to do is take the shell off. As you can see, I already did that. Just done by, unscrewing that screw there. And then what you're going to want to do is remove these two screws here. So let me do that real quick. All right, so as you can see, all these screws are out. Here's the two triangle screws that were here and here. And then what usually I do is I just take a slot head screwdriver and press it right in between there and pry it open. There we go. And then also into here as well. And it should just pop right open. As you can see, it just did. And the whole thing pretty much comes apart. So this is what it'll look like, or how it's supposed to look anyway. The magnetic coupler, you could just put that aside for now. We won't be using that for now. Here's the motor itself, and here's the wheel. So essentially what we're going to do is oil up these two gears and the two bits of axle right there and right there. Any points of friction, pretty much. So what you're going to want to do, first off, is take this light conductive lubricant. As you can see, it's very low viscosity. Squeeze the cap off. There we go. And then I'm not going to do it because I already did it, but what you're going to want to do is get a drop about, let's see, about yay big, and then put it on this end of the motor, this end of the motor, and then also down right there and right there. And that's all you'll need for this lubricant. Less is more, as Leo Can Video says. You don't even need to really see the drop. You just need to put a tiny, tiny bit on either. If you put too much, it'll burn out the motor because the inside of the motor is supposed to be dry. Most of the fixing these engines videos have you squirt WD-40 into the motor. That is not a good thing at all. It'll burn out the motor and you will have a dead engine. So with this all done, next up is either of these two lubricants. We'll use this one just for demonstration's sake. So you're going to want to pop the cap off and then squirt about, I'll put a bit more on this, about, let's see, that much. And then on that gear, you essentially don't really need any. You could put a bit on there if you want to, but that's all you'll need for this assembly. And so now, another optional thing you could do is also put a little bit of paper towel under there. I founded this method, and it pretty much just keeps the motor from rattling around in the engine. It presses it and reduces the friction between these two gears here. Essentially, how the gears are when you get it from the stores, they're pressed together really hard like that. But what the paper towel does is it lessens the gap, or it makes the gap bigger, so it'll be like about that, and it'll work perfectly. So now what I'm going to do is put this back together and show you how he runs. Alright, so here he is back together, and then to compare him, I actually have a Thomas from the Scruffy pack. And this is a brand new store-bought Thomas. I haven't done anything to him. So here is the store Thomas. If you don't do any service to him, this is how he will sound. As you can hear, very loud and rattly. And then here is the other Thomas, the one that we just serviced. So you can hear it's much more graceful. So that is how you service the smaller engines. Just be very careful when you're using these lubricants, because you don't want to get it in a place that is going to damage the motor, or you don't want to use too much. So that is the little engines. Now let's move on to the big engines. Alright, so here's Gordon. Essentially the same tools are needed. So what you're going to need is a slot head screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, optional of course, and a triangle head screwdriver. And then the same lubricants that we used last time. So I'm going to go ahead and open them up and show you how to take apart the chassis. Alright, so I unscrewed the one screw that it requires to take them apart right there. And this is what it looks like on the inside. I'm going to take out the battery just so I don't damage anything. So there's that. Alright, so this one is different than... This is where it gets different than Thomas over there. What you're going to want to do, there's 3 screws. We're only going to take out 2 of them. This screw right here and this screw right there. There are no screws on the bottom. So it is the far back screw and the screw up here. I'm going to take those out and show you how he comes apart. Alright, so there's those 2 screws out. As you can see, I took both of them out. You leave this one in here, because that's all that does is hold this switch in here, or the button. So now, what I like to do is put a screwdriver, let's see, right about in here, and then just press, and he falls apart. We can discard the tender, as you can see there, and here is the chassis. Alright, so here's what it looks like should everything not fly everywhere. So we have, of course, the motor and the gears. Now this is where it's the same process, really. Just make sure that when you put them back together, these wheels are all in the same place. So all you got to do is get a drop, again, about, let's see, about that big. And that'll do for putting a bit of lubricant on this end of the motor here. The bearing right there. And then the 2 axles, or the 2 bits of the axle right here and right here. The reason why we do this is because the axles are just grinding on the plastic under and over it, and it just makes a ton of friction and pretty much doesn't let the engine climb the hill. Same thing with Thomas. You could put a tiny bit of folded paper towel down there. I only fold it about twice, and then rip it so it's about that big, so that this wheel still moves up and down and the motor still fits in there. Feel free to adjust it if need be. And then one other thing that you could do if your engine's still running not smooth, This pin right here is either too tight or is pinching your side rod in, so you could put a bit of lubricant on there, but I've only seen one case of that, so it should not be a problem. Now what I'm going to do is put Gordon back together and show you how he runs. Now here is Gordon all back together. I have nothing to really compare him to before and after, but here is the after. He is very, very, very quiet, as you can hear right here. And there you go. I guess I will cut to these guys running up a hill, which seems to be the main issue these guys have. So here we go. All right, so here's Thomas. This is the one we just serviced, so here he goes. Absolutely no issue there. I will connect all these cars up to him in a second, but here is Gordon. Just bring him over right here. And here he goes as well. Absolutely no issue there either. So, I will connect all the cars I have to them, and we'll see how he does. Alright, so here's Thomas. We have his blue truck, the Cranky Set truck, 2 Scruffies, a mail car, and the Tommy Trains Annie and Clarabelle. These guys are pretty heavy on their own, so let's see how he does. As you can see, no issue there whatsoever. Now here we have Gordon. He's actually pulling more because of his tender as well as all of the cars there. So let's give him a go. Now he did struggle there a bit because these engines, as you can see there, are very lightweight. You could add a bit of weight into them, but overall they work normal. As you can see here, he is pulling all the cars and doing a great job. Oh, that's because Annie got stuck there. But you get the general point. Gordon did very well on this set. Now I will grab the Thomas that is unserviced and show you how he does on there. I expect he will get stuck on the hill. Alright, and here's the unserviced Thomas with the truck and, you know, all that. Here we go. As you can see, a lot more struggle on there. He barely made it over that hill. Now, he is still strong on the flat tracks, but you could barely hear me over him because he's so loud. Now, I do have also James, Percy, and 2 other Thomases. Though they are also serviced, and they also work just as good as Thomas and Gordon. So, yeah, that's how to service your, I guess, Trackmaster 3 engines. And yeah, thanks for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and please let me know if you want a review on all of this stuff. So, yeah, thanks for watching.